He said, genuine question. I always hear about women being in their masculine, but I personally never hear about men in their feminine. Why is that? Do content creators just not think it's necessary to talk about? Am I not looking in the right places for this discourse? I'd like people's takes. This isn't a gotcha. Most people think it'll be. I'm genuinely curious. So that's kind of interesting because we've never really, I mean, I guess we've kind of discussed it a little bit, but we do definitely say women are being in their masculine, but we don't necessarily say men are being in their feminine.
Yeah, that's true. But it's kind of hard to describe because kind of like we were talking about a little bit, it's not like men are painting their nails and well, they are actually now, but you know, they're not like having sleepovers and pillow fights. Like that's not what we mean by feminine. It's more of them allowing their emotions to completely overtake their logical side of themselves. Yeah. And instead living in this really emotional place to the point where it's kind of like if you've been around a woman who allows her emotions to completely control her and she seems unstable.
Right. The dark side of the feminine.
Right. Yeah. Like the just totally not in control of their own life seeming sort of thing. And that's why women aren't really necessarily attracted to that because we are more emotional anyway. Right. And sometimes that, even if you're, you know, emotionally intelligent and things like that, it still can feel unstable. And a woman really needs somebody that can be more grounded in those moments than she necessarily can. If she's with a emotional man, a more feminine man in that sense, there's no stability really there. Or it's very shaky, and so it's unreliable. It's not stable. And so it's not a good long-term fit for a woman when, you know, two people are in that sort of state. Yeah. And they want to, like, men want to be taken care of. And
that's the other thing.
I don't think it's even necessarily, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's like they want to be taken care of, though, like a woman does. Right. Not taken care of like a manly, masculine man wants to be. Like, he wants to be taken care of. He wants to, you know, feel like his woman is supporting him and taking care of his needs and things like that. Like, that is how a man should be taken care of. Right. But they want to be taken care of the same way that they see a lot of women and be like, well, I want to stay home and not have to work. And I want to be flown out on vacations. And I want to not have to plan anything and just go. And it's like, you know, that sort of thing is more feminine.
Yeah. And it's the 50-50 guys, right? That's, I would say, a man being in his feminine, right? I would say that this one pisses off people all the time, the guys, is that I would say that anger is a feminine emotion. So when guys display anger and they're always like, no, it's a masculine emotion. No, because anger means a lack of control. Anger is never a useful emotion. It never is helpful, right, to express anger, right? So if you're expressing anger, then, and we see a lot of angry men. And every time I see an angry man, I think feminine. Yeah. I don't think I think feminine, right? And
but like you said, it's like, I mean, you use the term dark feminine. I think it's like an unhealed feminine. Because even people would say that a really like aggressive asshole guy is an unhealed masculine. Because he has some attributes that are masculine. Like he stands up for what he believes in and things like that we've talked about before. Right. But it's not healed. Like he's unhealed because he still has these characteristics that are not healthy. They're not helping him. They're actually hurting him that he doesn't even realize. And same with like the feminine unhealed would be allowing your emotions to completely take over your life, spew on other people. You have no control over them sort of thing. So that is kind of where it is. And that's why like we use masculine to talk about the feminine or like the females that are doing their own thing and things like that. And in a way that's kind of like an unhealed because they feel like they have to compete and be this like aggressive woman, which is not healed, you know? And then the feminine men are, you know, allowing their emotions to overtake them to the point where it's also altering their like views of the world. Yeah. And they're spewing it all over people and all of this messiness. So it's very unhealed on both sides because we're not supposed to have that much of that thing. We all have both
exactly.
dynamics inside of us, masculine and feminine, but it has to be healed. It has to be a good balance, whether you're a man or a woman.
I think the difficulty too is that there's really not good definitions of what is masculine or feminine. People don't understand that very well unless you actually study it and start to really look into it. And so it's easier for us to say a woman's being in her masculine because it's easily identifiable. We can identify that she's acting masculine, but it's harder even though a lot of men are living in their feminine. But I think that the best way to look at it is a departure from what you're supposed to be as a man. So as a man, you're supposed to be a rock. You're supposed to be stable. You're supposed to be assertive. You're supposed to be logical, decisive, right? You're not supposed to be ruffled very easily, right? That's what, when we think of masculine, that's what masculinity is. And so men that are departing from that, they're easily disturbed. They want to be protected and provided for, these type of things. They're emotional. That's a man being in his feminine. And really, I think the other piece of this is that most men are living in their feminine. And that's why we don't even, it's just become so commonplace for it because, and the way that you can tell that is because you're a woman, how rare is it to see a masculine man in the wild?
Very.
Right? You dated a lot of guys before we got together, got married.
Yeah.
From what you said, you didn't see very many masculine.
No. And I grew up with a masculine dad, so I did know what it was. Granted, a lot of people don't have that same experience, so some women never really see a masculine man in real life and know what it is.
Right.
But it's also, like I said with the asshole thing, is you can see as a woman a lot of asshole type men that think they're masculine, but they're really not. And so that's the thing, is it's hard to find a true masculine man because it's not about being aggressive and it's not about being an asshole. It's about being a gentleman. It's about having that, soft, caring part inside, but that you will hold your ground, you'll stand up for what you believe in and have that strong side as well. So it's like a balance. And I did want to add to what you said earlier. I posted a thing on our Instagram that it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to add though, what you're saying, you're not saying to suppress your emotions, because that's also where men shove it all down. They're they hear things like this and they're not even really listening to what we're saying. So I want to explain it more. We're not saying to suppress your emotions. That is not the advice we're giving here. It's that you have to learn to process your emotions. And I know you've talked about this in your content. It's feel the thing and then let it go. You have to feel the emotion and process it. Men are logical, so they need to use that logical side of them to process, okay, this is why I felt this. This is what I'm feeling right now. And how can I either prevent this from happening again, or, this might happen again and I'm going to handle it this way next time. They have to analyze it. They have to use that logical side so that they will develop emotional maturity. And they'll be able to be what you said, that rock who can handle when things don't go the way that they should go. Not in any way are we saying that you should suppress them, because it's just going to build up. You're going to get more emotional. You're going to do more outrageous things that you shouldn't be doing. And that is what I know a lot of men say, that they get this message where don't be emotional, but that's not what we're saying.
And it's, let me give the quick rundown. So
give the full.
This is how I explain it, is that there's three ways to handle emotions, right? So one of them is you can express them. Second is you can repress them, and third is you can process them. If you express them, if you think a river is flowing towards you, if you express them, you're diverting the river and spraying it all over everyone else. That's not good. That's when you're being angry and yelling and screaming. The second thing you could do is you can repress them. That's the river is coming and you're absorbing all of the river, just taking it in, right? Eventually, what's going to happen? You're going to explode, right? But that's not good. You're stuffing it down, right? You're trying to absorb that river. And so if you process the emotions, the river's coming at you, you're letting the river flow through you. So you're feeling it, You're letting it go. It goes, so you're not trying to hold it there. You're not trying to send it somewhere else, right? So that's the healthy way to do it. And that's part of the road of emotional mastery for a man, is to be able to handle that. But the other aspect of it is the stoic sense of it, which means that you also practice acceptance, which means that you never even feel those emotions in the first place as you practice that. Now, you're going to feel things, and when you do, you have to process them. But as you start letting things go and not making a big deal about things and practicing acceptance instead of having expectations, then you find that less things bother you. You have less of these negative emotions coming up, because negative emotions always come from unmet expectations. So there's my spiel on that. But you're absolutely right, because people misinterpret this and think we're saying stuff it down and don't talk about it, and that's not good for anyone's mental health. Right. Being a man is simply being able to manage and process those emotions in the right way, that you're not spilling them all over other people. It's a lot more acceptable for a woman to be more expressive of her emotions, right?
But she should also still learn emotional maturity, because we are more emotional, and that's our responsibility. And it's men's responsibility too. We were talking about this. That could probably be a whole nother episode too, is that, what a man can teach a woman is to be more logical, so that she can make more sense of her emotions and learn emotional maturity.
Right.
And women know how big and painful and all those things that emotions can feel, and they can help men, learn how to express them in the proper way too, as long as she knows, you know what I mean? Like, and make men feel like it's okay, because it is okay to have feelings. Like, you're not a robot. Like, being the logical sex does make you seem a little bit more robotic. I'm not going to lie, because a lot of times too, women are like, how do you not, when we watch that movie, and I'm like, how do you not sad they left the dinosaur that doesn't even exist on the island? Like, that part of a man, the emotional part, is what makes you loving and caring, but you have to hone in on the parts that can be negative, like the anger and the certain sides that men can just let spew all over the place. And same with women, because when women get into an argument with their husband or their boyfriend or something, they can also be like, I hate you. And they don't really do that, think that. But they're just trying to hurt the other person, and that's not healthy either. So it's like both sides of the coin can help each other. But if they're so dysregulated, then both people need to be working on how they can regulate those things.
Yeah, we need to do 2 episodes, one on positive and negative masculinity and femininity, right? And then you also reminded me of, we should do an episode on the 4 quadrants that I came up with of the 4 types of men.
Yeah, that's a
better than perfect. We stand